Up, Ballpark Beef fans, we're back. No technical difficulties. Breezy trade deadline. I'll be honest with you, my take kind of mid. No big names, but we're gonna get into it. And we got our draft order set for our redraft league, and we're gonna be talking a little bit about who we're taking in our spots. And with that, let's talk about the trade deadline. Roll that music, baby.
Guys, guess what? It's trade deadline day. The trade deadline ended about 2.5 hours ago. There was, as Jimmy mentioned in the intro, there was a flurry of trades. Just nothing, no one crazy. I think the biggest name move was probably Jack Flaherty. I think he's one of the best players that was moved at this deadline. 7-5, 2.9 ERA. So he was one of the most coveted starting pitcher, obviously. But there was obviously other big names moved. We're going to talk all about it. Don't you worry. We have a full trade deadline breakdown. And then we'll go into fantasy football, talk about a little bit of our mocks because we have our picks now. We know where we're picking. So we're going to talk a little about our teams. So, boys, let's get the groundwork laying here. How was your week? And then let's fucking get into it.
Hey, man, week was good. Went to the beach with Jonathan, his wife, and a couple friends for the first time of the summer. Probably going to be the last time because it took us a while to find parking. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great week.
Feel that, man. Loving sitting on the beach this summer, just really enjoying kicking back. I don't have to park, I just have to walk, and it's wonderful. So shout out to the main beaches.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be short and sweet. I don't like the beach. I'm not a beach guy. Give me a pool and a backyard with a barbecue set up. I'm fucking chilling. But nevertheless, it was a great time. Long
Two
Branch.
different vibes. Two different vibes. Love that vibe too. Just very different.
Yeah, that's my vibe. I'm not a big beach guy.
I'm a fan of Jonathan's type of vibe because you could grab a Michelob whenever you want.
And it's free.
Mix on deck.
Well, it's not free, but it's not $10 a Michelob.
It's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Mix on deck, glizzies on the grill. You know how it is.
That's what I'm talking about.
How do you guys like your glizzies?
We'll catch up on them.
I like. So here, I'll explain it. I'm a fan of the way the Brazilians do their hot dogs. So nice hot dog, grill marks, mayonnaise, ketchup, and they put these little fritas things on it, like little chips, kind of fire. You guys gotta try it.
Sounds good. It sounds good.
It's very good.
Big classic mustard guy over here, but
Really?
I'm down for Brazilian dog once in a while.
Hey, you're the classic mustard, and I'm the classic ketchup.
You know what? Draft party, I'll make you a Brazilian hot dog.
Oh, I'm down.
All right, bet.
I'll bring the mix.
I think we're gonna do it at my
That'll be a 30-pack.
I think we're gonna do it at my parents' house. So it'll be, we'll have the whole backyard. I'll put the draft on the projector with a sheet, so it's on the shed. We'll be around the fire. It's just a better vibe.
Ooh,
sound good?
I love it. I love it.
Cool. All right, fellas. Let's talk about our teams a little bit, just a little bit, real quick. No time limit tonight, but we also don't want to be here till all night because we have lives and things to do. So Jimmy's going to talk about his World Series. Nick's going to talk about his 30-second Cardinals beat. I'm going to say two things about the Yankees, and then we got trade deadline. So Jimmy, roll it.
I can't stand you. My team, and this guy's always trying to rush me off the air. Like I'm trying to let the people know what's going on with the New York Metropolitans, who won the World Series last week, beating the Yankees in 2 games, 3-2, a little close one, and then a 12-3 rout of them Stankies. We jumped all over Garrett Cole, whooped that ass. We're playing really good. Split with the Braves thereafter. Took the opening game from the Twins. We're in the thick of the wild card race, baby, and our deadline moves kind of showed it. Looking forward to getting into those, but the Mets are A-okay. They will continue to be A-okay. They're the best team in baseball since June, bar none, not even the Astros, who are also hot. Pete Alonso looking really good. Francisco Lindor looking really good. Mark Vientos is probably the story of the year. 15 homers and a little over 200 at-bats. Just absolutely mashing the ball. You got Tyrone Taylor also playing like a really good ball player right now. So things are good in Queens. We just need to hang on to that wild card spot and not let these Cardinals catch up to us.
Yeah, man. I don't think you have to worry about the Cardinals. They've been sucking in since the All-Star break, actually. They lost 2 out of 3 against the Pirates, lost 2 out of 3 against the Nationals, lost last night to the Rangers. Currently tied. Started late with the rain delay, but they also made moves in the trade deadline. Cardinals are currently tied for third, I think, in the wild card with the Pirates. Sorry, no, they're 2 games out of the third, but tied with the Pirates. I just don't see them going anywhere, but we'll get into that.
Yankees showing signs of improvement and still letting me down at the same time. That's all I got. Okay, trade deadline stuff. Told you 2 things. That's all I'm saying. 2 things.
I mean, that's a ballpark beef world record for Jonathan not talking about the Yankees.
No, because I'm going to talk about them when I talk about their trade deadline grade.
Hey, can we just have a moment?
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, brother. Start us off with the number 1 trade so far.
All right, so there honestly was a lot of trades this year, and the deadline started early. It didn't take long to get going. There was a lot of trades. I'm going to start off with the D-backs acquiring AJ Puk. AJ Puk is a left-handed reliever. He's been doing better as of late. 2.08 ERA in his last 28 appearances. He was traded for De Los Santos, Arizona's number 14, and Pintar, their number 30. Wow. In this trade deadline, man, the values were insane. So a guy like AJ Puk, who's not even like I wouldn't even call him a shutdown reliever. You got 2 top 30 prospects for him. Insane. So this whole deadline, we're going to be talking about the Marlins just kind of selling off and just getting prospects and playing for the future, essentially. Sorry if you hear about them. We'll get them back. I think we don't need to analyze that much. Next one. This is a big one, actually. Randy Arozarena to the Mariners. That's crazy. The Mariners are making a push. The Rays are continuing to build their pipeline of prospects. I don't know what they do with those prospects, but I guess we'll see. But they got in return for Randy, Aiden Smith, Brody Hopkins, and a player to be named later. Smith was number 12. Hopkins was 22. I think that's a good deal for Randy Arozarena. He's not having a great year. He's not playing like he did in the World Baseball Classic. But I mean, Randy Arozarena is he's a solid baseball player. Pair him up with Julio Rodriguez. That's a decent outfield. It's fun, right?
Does he have control left?
I'm not sure.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think Randy Arozarena and Julio Rodriguez is a pretty solid 2 out of 3 outfielders, and getting him for a 12 and a 22, I think that's a pretty fair price.
Yeah, when Randy's on, he's electric. He just needs to figure out how to be on
all the time. Yeah. Okay. I would say so. I'm going to skip this next trade. We kind of have the same list up, so I'm just kind of scrolling through the notable ones, kind of for like teams in contention, playoff teams. I'm not going to like do like little moves here and there, but the Orioles acquired Sir Anthony Dominguez and Christian Pache for Austin Hayes. Very interesting deal here. The Orioles did need bullpen help, but Austin Hayes was an all-star last year, and he's still a solid baseball player. He's not shit. I would say he's an above-average outfielder, but I guess they get an outfielder in return, and they get a reliever. I guess it made sense for the Orioles. The Orioles did work this deadline. They went out and played to win this year. Unlike another team in the AL East, which we're gonna talk about later. Don't you worry. But yeah, I don't think we need to talk much about that. No big name prospects in there. I'm gonna skip this one. Another Orioles trade. They got Zach Eflin. They needed a starter badly. They've been struggling with starting pitching, so they get Zach Eflin. They gave up their number 10 and 17, both who are at high A. And Zach Eflin is a durable pitcher. He finished 6th in the American League Cy Young Award voting last year. And you pair that with Kyle Bradish, John Means, and Tyler Wells. Those guys are out for the year, and you need rotation help. So that, again, another move the Orioles needed to make. And now we got a Mets one. We got a Mets. So the Mets, this is how I'll describe the Mets deadline. The Mets got bodies and arms. That's what they did. They got bodies and arms to throw innings. No flashy names, but at the end of the year, when people's arms are tired, you got extra bodies and arms, right? I mean, can't go wrong with that. Like, I was hearing Mets fans talk about, oh, there's no flashy name. We didn't go get a big starting pitcher. Oh, who's Paul Blackburn? Like, it's bodies and arms. Like, fuck it. So they
Might
get
not
Ryan.
know who he is now, but you might know him later.
Yeah, he could be, in a critical moment in a wild card game or division series. You don't know. But they got Ryan Stanek. He's off to a rough start. He's rough start with the Mets so far, but he's a solid reliever nonetheless. They gave up their 30th ranked prospect for him. Jimmy, do you want to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
this one?
let me jump in. So I'll talk about the Mets trade deadline. Let's actually switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about the Mets trade deadline as a whole, and then we'll jump back into the order. Maybe that's
Okay.
a good idea.
Yeah, sure.
So the Mets, I agree. So the Mets did not acquire a flashy name. They probably did the right thing this trade deadline, in all honesty, because the prices were so high. We didn't touch a top. I don't think we touched a top 30 prospect in any of our trades. Like you guys said, bodies and arms. We got Jesse Winker very early on in the trade deadline timeline. Jesse Winker is going to be a fine fourth outfielder. No problem with that move. Lefty replace Stewart on the bench, and I think Jesse Winker's better. Paul Blackburn's going to be a good back of the rotation kind of guy. Got some control left, so I'm happy with that pickup. Got him from the Oakland Athletics, and then we bolstered the bullpen with four arms: Phil Maton, Ryan Stanek, Huascar Brosabon, and I think that's one of the wins of this deadline is Brosabon and Tyler Zuber. So all in all, bodies and arms. Didn't overpay. Didn't get lost in this trade deadline. Trying to go for top of the rotation guy, like Blake Snell or anything like that, or give up the farm. I think it's a solid deadline, to be honest with you. I think it's a solid deadline. We're in a good position. So I'm very excited to see what Brazaban has. I said his name 3 different times, the 3 different times I said it, but he's an exciting one, I think. So let's see.
34 years old, still about, I think, 2-3 years of control left on him. Last month or so, he hasn't given up an earned run. He's got some electric stuff, so I think he might be the cream of the crop out of those bodies you got.
Bodies and arms.
Bodies and arms, baby. But we're going to come to the next big trade. Jazz Chisholm to the Yankees. I love this trade. Jazz Chisholm has 3 home runs so far for the Yankees. He's playing third base. He looks great at third base. Never has played third base professionally. I wouldn't call Jazz a superstar, but I think in the right situation, not being in Miami and trying to be the star of the team, under Judge, under Soto, I think Jazz is going to get his career back on the track. I really do think so. But in the trade, we gave up our 19th and 20th prospect and then another unranked prospect. I really like the catcher we gave away, Augustine Ramirez. He hit tanks. He had 20 home runs, just got called up to AAA. But he reminded me a lot of Gary Sanchez. And I think Austin Wells has the catcher spot kind of filled up. Austin Wells has been playing great, so I'm not upset. And we needed to make moves like this. We couldn't go out there with DJ and Glaber all the time, man. Like, DJ's done. Glaber can't field a ground ball. He's hitting a little better. He can't field a ground ball. But that was one of the moves the Yankees made.
I like this trade a lot for the Yankees. I think it extends their lineup and allows a lot of people to be less pressured because, like, just imagine going up and you didn't even get to Jazz Chisholm. You didn't even get to Judge and Soto, and you're facing Jazz Chisholm, who we know has pop, has speed. Like, you don't want that dude on the base or at the plate. And now you give Aaron Judge or Juan Soto, Verdugo and him on, or just him on. It doesn't allow you to just pitch around Judge like the Mets did in their series and shut the lineup down. But I think this trade with Jazz Chisholm, you didn't give up anything crazy, like you said, the number 19 and number 20. It's a solid. It gives a lot of gives the players a new look for the Yankees, and just it shows that they're willing to make moves and not just keep throwing the same guys out there and just accepting defeat.
Yeah, I still have critique about their deadline as a whole.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And I might as well go into it now because there's no other really notable trades. I think it's a good stopping point for the Yankees. But the Yankees are currently competing with the Orioles. The Orioles made much more moves. They got Zach Eflin. They got Eloy Jimenez at the end of the deadline, who's a very solid bat. I think people underrate him. He's a very swing and miss, but as a DH, I don't think many people are better. And he can play a little outfield. They got the reliever from the Phillies. They got another reliever And his name, who else did they get here? Hold up 1 second. Sorry, there's so many deals. But nonetheless, yeah, they got Trevor Rogers from the Marlins, which was a crazy overpay. Uh, they gave him number 5 prospect for a reliever. That's insane. And but that's the price of the deadline. And we'll talk about kind of the bigger names soon, but let me talk about the Yankees. The Yankees didn't do enough. We got Jazz Chisholm, Mark Leiter, and Aniel De Los Santos. These were moves that say we're all in. If you were all in, you would have went and got Jack Flaherty. I'm sorry. I don't care what it took. The only person you should have not traded was Jason Dominguez. Everyone else should have been available. Everyone else. These are moves you need to make to show you're willing to compete. Jazz Chisholm and Mark Leiter and Aniel De Los Santos doesn't show that you're like you're in it to win it for the long haul. It just shows like, oh, we made a move, and I know what Cashman's going to say at the podium. Well, we're getting Stanton back, we're getting Dominguez back, we're getting Birdie back, we're getting Schmidt back, we're getting all these guys back. Those are basically like making trades. Dude, they're hurt for a reason. Make some fucking moves. The Dodgers, they go all in. AJ Preller of the Padres, he says fuck them prospects. He does not care about prospects. I mean, the Padres haven't made it far in a while, so it really hasn't worked out much. But the Dodgers, I mean, they're competing every year. It sucks, man. I think Cashman's last year if the Yankees don't make it far. But let's get into some more of these trades. I'm not happy at all. It's a disgrace. Like, Jack Flaherty should have been a Yankee, guys. He really should have. If they were in it to win it, he should have been a Yankee.
I think the return for Jack Flaherty was pretty light too. I don't think it was too.
I was surprised that trade got through after what they said it was worth.
It was a dude. If I knew that price, I would have gave up Spencer Jones and another top 15 prospect, and that would have got it done. Literally.
Because Jack Flaherty looks like he's in his 2019 form when he was on the Cardinals.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It sucks, man. Enough of the prospect hugging. I used to be like that. It's done.
They're not going to give you guys much use if they just stay in AAA.
Oh, they're not. But let's get into some more of the bigger trades. I'm getting bored of going over the shitty ones. But let's talk about the Jack Flaherty trade while we're on it. So the Dodgers acquired Jack Flaherty, who is the best. Now, would you say Crochet was better than him?
I think Scooble was better than all of them.
I don't think Schoolball was actually ever going to be traded.
I think that
was all smoke and mirrors.
He was the best one
for sure,
and he was a topic.
No, I mean, yeah,
I definitely think Flaherty was top 3.
Yeah, I mean, so the Dodgers got Jack Flaherty. Okay, I think. Hold on, let me see the return here. Okay, so funny. Listen to this. They gave up Theron Lorenzo and Trey Sweeney. Does that name ring a bell? That is a former Yankee prospect who was traded to them in the offseason. So essentially, we had some kind of deal with this, our old prospect. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Trey Sweeney and this Lorenzo guy, and that's all it took. I was super surprised. I thought based on what the Marlins got for Tanner Scott, Jack Flaherty would be worth double that, but I guess not. So I guess we'll talk about the Tanner Scott thing. So now Padres got Tanner Scott. And if you guys don't know AJ Preller, he does not care about prospects. He rinses and wipes his prospects every year. But the Marlins got for a relief pitcher, a closing pitcher, who's having a career year, 1.18 ERA, 18 saves, the number 2, the number 4, number 5, and they're 24 for a fucking reliever.
A closer.
A closer, yeah.
Guy's going to give you an inning and outing.
Snelling is a top 50 prospect in all of baseball, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's a huge get. Like, granted, I don't know. How much control does Tanner Scott have? Because it better be a decade for what they gave up. The Padres really need to win something before they ruin baseball forever.
Jimmy, they gave up 3 of their top 5 prospects.
Yeah.
For a closer.
for a closer. Not Jack Flaherty, not Garrett Crochet, not Luis Robert, not I don't know, what's another good name?
Just say Scooble if you want.
Tariq Skubal. A closer.
On a rental, by the way.
His contract's up after this year?
He is an unrestricted free agent in 2025.
They gave up 3 top 5 prospects for a rental.
I feel like this is the
He-
price of like a Mason Miller.
He
Yeah.
might pitch. He might pitch if he's healthy 20 more innings this season.
For a closer.
Tops.
3 top
Tops.
5 prospects.
So every 4 innings he pitches, that's a prospect.
That
One
is
prospect
insane.
for every 4. Like if you want to do the dollars and cents of it and look at it that way. Isn't that crazy? Tater
Dude.
Scott, I hope you lead the Padres to the World Series because they paid for you, that's for sure, pal. Very
All right.
interesting deadline. It's hard to say like who valued people. Like it's so weird to see the value. I feel like some players were valued so insanely high. Like some markets were so insanely high, and then you look at the Flaherty trade and be like, what? Like what was that comparatively? You know what I mean? Like
it's like
maybe waiting until the last minute is not the idea. Maybe it's better for the buyer. Who knows? Like it's kind of crazy.
because dude, when I saw the Scott trade, I was like, dude, Flaherty's gonna be fucking expensive. He's gonna cost Bencher Jones another top 10 and maybe another top 15 at least. If that's a closer's price, Jack Flaherty's price got to be double that.
Yeah. He'll go like another 60 more innings this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe the Marlins fleeced. I don't know.
Oh, I saw
No,
that
they
the
fleeced.
Marlins got rid of 9 people this trade deadline. That's almost a third of their roster.
It's been a constant rebuild, man.
I'll take the Marlins like 10th best prospect over the Padres number 1 prospect. Probably.
Because their prospect. I don't think maybe their farm's not that deep. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe
The
their
Marlins?
farm's no, the Padres. Maybe their farm
Well, they're-
just is. Snelling is
Yeah.
good. Maybe the other
Yeah.
guys are just like, you know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's still that return is insane. And there really weren't like overall with this deadline, there weren't really that many big names.
No.
Like the names whispered, like Scooble, who else? Crotchet, however you say his name.
Jay.
Luis Robert.
Luis Robert was talked about. The guy from the Oakland didn't get traded. The
Rooker.
DH, Rooker, yep. Like it just weird. Like
It was
the
Very
names
crazy. So
that
I was watching
yeah,
MLB tonight, I think it was earlier, but right before the deadline, and they were saying there were hardly any trades where like if you're in your front office and you completed a trade, you're like going around giving high fives.
no.
You know, like if you're the Dodgers, like yeah, you just got Jack Flaherty, you know, you're giving high fives. There was maybe 3 trades that I would have been like super happy at that we made out of this entire trade deadline, and there was over probably 30 trades.
I would say the biggest trades of this deadline would be Jack Flaherty, Tanner Scott, and Jazz Chisholm. I would say those are the top 3 trades. And it's not saying much, honestly. You got a closer, a starter who's having a bounce back year, and then Jazz Chisholm, who really doesn't have great stats, but I mean, he could be good. He's playing well now. Hit another homer tonight, but
Me personally, I think a trade that is worth, you know, giving a high five in the front office is the trade that the Phillies did to acquire Carlos Estevez. Because the Phillies are going for a World Series this year, and honestly, they never, when it came to like the 9th inning, they didn't have a guy that they're like, hey, you're going in the 9th inning every single time. They'd always bounce around between who's going to close out a game. Carlos Estevez is coming from the Angels, and he's having a 2.38 ERA with 20 saves from the Angels. So now for the rest of the year, the Phillies know who their closer is going to be, and he's just having a really good year.
wait, where did you get the 2.38 stats?
It
yeah,
says he
no,
has a 2.38 ERA and 20 saves for LA.
yeah.
I mean,
No,
to
I
me,
mean
that's
that's
a
a good
solid
get.
closer.
Yeah,
And it took number 23 and number 28 from the Phillies farm. So not too
that's good.
expensive.
That is good.
I think that's a trade that is worth, you know, like high five and like, hey, we just did a great job because you know they filled a big hole.
Yeah, they needed a closer, and they got that closer. And Oh my God. Jazz Chisholm hit his second home run of the night. It's a 3-run homer. He now has 4 homers in two games.
He's gonna bring that lineup. He's gonna bring that lineup to life.
I
He not
am
like Miami at all.
clearly not. He's raking.
It could just be one of those scenes where he knows that he's not a superstar player, but if he's playing for a team like Miami, he has to act like one, and that just might him make like bad decisions going to New York, but being in front of Judge and Soto, he's kind of just like free swinging, and whatever happens happens.
I also think being with Soto and Judge definitely helps someone. Like, who does he have in Miami to kind of help him?
The
Challenge
tablet that
him.
he looks at after his at bat.
You know what I mean? Like,
No, yeah, I mean,
it's
it gives a
good to learn.
motive.
It's good to learn from those guys. But we heard about the Yankees deadline. We heard about the Mets deadline. You know what deadline we did not hear about yet, Jimmy?
The Mediterranean Cardinals.
Yeah, we have not heard one thing about what the Cardinals did this
Hey, bro,
deadline.
you just magically jumped the gun and went to the last trade of the trade deadline, so I was
Yeah,
just waiting for it to slow down,
I was rolling. I was like, you know what? We got to break this up. This is going to be too slow.
But the Cardinals were, I think this is the only 3-team trade of the trade deadline, if I'm not mistaken. The Dodgers, the White Sox, and the Cardinals agreed to a 3-team trade where the Dodgers are acquiring Tommy Edman and Michael Kopech and Oliver Gonzalez. The Cardinals acquire Eric Feed and Tommy Pham comes back home. And the White Sox acquire Miguel Vargas, Jarrell Perez, Alexander Albertus from the Dodgers. I think this is a really good trade for the Cardinals. We add a right-hand outfielder, which right now we have a lot of left fielders. And he's coming back to a place where he had a little bit of success. So he's used to what they're doing. I always liked Tommy Pham. I'll never forget his little outburst with fantasy football in the outfield. And then we get another starter. The Cardinals starting hasn't been terrible, but it hasn't been, perfect. And we add a guy who's this year has almost a 5 WAR, 3.11 ERA, 7-4. I think this is going to be solid for the Cardinals rotation. We had Palante step up out of the bullpen to fill in the 5th spot of the rotation for quite a while. I think this is great to allow him to go back to the bullpen and handle those long inning situations when the starter doesn't have a good start. I think this is a really good trade for the Cardinals. And then they also did another one where they sent Dylan Carlson over to, I believe it was Tampa Bay, for Dylan Carlson for Sean Armstrong. Personally, I don't know much about Sean Armstrong, and Dylan Carlson hasn't been doing what he's been, expected to do. So this trade is kind of like an off trade for me, but I'm a big person where, especially when you're a veteran, going to a different scenario might just bring more success than you staying in the same spot your whole career. Armstrong has a 5.4 ERA with 50 strikeouts for the Rays this year, but he's a 10-year veteran, so he might bring some life to the Cardinals bullpen.
That's it. That's what
Did somebody say? Did somebody say expected?
I did.
Expected batting average? Yeah, no, you said expected. I'm just messing with you. Yeah, Middleton from Middle Tennessee Cardinals with a mid move with the Rays. Yeah, no idea who Sean Armstrong is, and that interesting three team trade. Tommy Pham, pretty good. Eric Fetty, also pretty good. So 2 good additions. Not bad.
Not bad.
I give the Cardinals like a B plus. They're a mid team, but they showed their clubhouse that they tried making some moves, and me personally, if I see my team making any move, it kind of drives me to be like, hey, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. This front office believes in us, and we got to go.
A B plus.
Gotta go.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's better than what you guys did.
A B plus.
Yeah. For what the Cardinals normally do at the trade deadline, I'm happy with what they did. They actually showed life.
I'll give you a B minus at best, but Jazz Chisholm looks like the best move of the trade deadline, by the way, because 4 homers, insane. And the Mets got arms and bodies, so I don't really know what you're talking about. How we get a B minus?
I didn't give you a B minus or at all. I said I give the Cardinals.
Well, I gave you a B minus, and you said that we did worse than you. So
I never said you did worse than us.
You did. You said the Cardinals had the better deadline than us too.
No, I didn't.
You did, bro.
You didn't?
No,
I'm pretty sure you did. Could
no,
have won the
I like the Mets trade deadline the most.
Oh, hell yeah.
The
Tell me
Mets got,
some more.
like you said, bro, bodies and arms, but sometimes that's a big thing because the Mets bullpen is solid, and for them to get a lot of more bullpen pitchers to allow the stars to get rested, and the Mets are looking like a solid wild card team right now. I think that was a very smart move by the Mets for when only to put those star pitchers in when it's like close games. When it's blowout games, you don't want to just throw Ottavino out there to fill in innings. You got these guys to do that. So I like the Mets trade deadline the best.
Oh
Hell yeah,
yeah.
dude.
Oh, you just glazed all over the Mets trade deadline.
I'm sorry, I can't give credit where I think it's due.
I mean, they had a deadline. Like I wouldn't call it good. I wouldn't call it great. Like they had a deadline. Like they added arms
Oh,
and
the
bodies.
deadline, cuz.
They added arms and bodies. Like no one on this they traded for is a game changer.
There
Well,
was
but
no game
sometimes
changers
sometimes
traded.
you don't need game changers. You just need to make movements.
Zero,
I
zero
think
game changers were traded this deadline.
I think even though the names are not game changers, that is a game changer for the Mets. Like rest is a really big thing. And for the Mets to now not have to be able to shove the same three bullpen players every single game, because every game they play is pretty close, it gives the Mets a better chance.
What's Ryan Stanek's ERA since he came to the Mets?
It's
All right,
been
a
3
million.
days. So
Asking.
what? He's pitched what, probably once or twice and gave up runs? Whoop-de-doo. What would you
Okay.
expect him to have a 0 ERA from now until the playoffs?
Uh, you didn't even name Jesse Winker, who I think is the best player they got in the trade deadline.
You talking about me?
No, this guy. He said
Oh,
arms and
okay.
bodies.
He's a body.
Well, I don't watch the Mets. I don't know what his stats are. I mean, he's a body. I just like everything that the Mets did.
Jesse Winker,
Apparently,
man.
apparently, when I speak my
Hold
opinion,
up.
I'm glazing. So let me just not say
Hold
anything
up.
anymore.
Did David Stearns pay you off to say this?
I wish I would have.
Because
I would have said a lot more.
it's not like he's paying you. See in your
So
back pocket.
here,
I'm so sorry that we're a baseball podcast and I gave my opinion about a baseball move.
I'm gonna defend Stearns here because this deadline was full of traps. And by traps, I mean the return for Tanner Scott. There was traps spewing about the league, and if you're a bad GM, you fall for them. Or if you're a desperate GM, you fall for them. And Stearns, by not falling for any of them, not giving up the farm, mortgaging the future for the now, but by getting serviceable players to fill holes that were there in the lineup, that were there in the bullpen, that are there in the rotation, he had a great deadline, in my opinion. If you keep every top 30 prospect and you add to this team to make a playoff push, that's a fantastic deadline. Maybe a hot take, but this deadline was pretty freaking mid. There was not too much excitement going on with this deadline. The most exciting person traded was Jack Flaherty. Are you kidding me? Are you joking?
It's fair. It's a fair
Like
point.
Tanner, did you know who Tanner Scott was before this trade deadline?
I
Before the
mean,
season?
I play MLB, so I did.
yeah, I
Before the
mean,
season.
I play
no,
MLB, so I did.
truthfully, like,
Okay.
I
So
didn't know he was
truthfully, like
this good, but I knew of
yeah,
him.
my point exactly. So this most exciting two people, Jack Flaherty, Tanner Scott, people, and Jazz Chisholm with 4 home runs after the break. You tell me that's a good deadline? You tell me there was places to get impact players to change your lineup throughout this deadline?
no,
Superstar level talent? No.
Hey, bro, all I'm saying is if I'm Ottavino or any star in the Mets bullpen and I see 4 new arms, I say, hell yeah, I get some rest days.
you just called Ottavino a star. Is that what
I
you
mean,
just?
he's one of the star pitchers for the Mets.
Yeah, Ottavino might get cut in the next couple days.
Oh, whatever. You know what I mean. Sorry, I don't follow the Mediterranean Mets.
No, the Mediterranean
You
from the middle
follow?
Tennessee
What do
Cardinals.
you follow?
Hey, bro. Just saying, if I was a star bullpen player, I would be happy to get some rest.
He follows Michelob Ultra, the best beer
I'm
among
sponsored by
beers.
Michelob Ultra.
Clearly.
All right, should we jump to fantasy? Like, let's talk a
Let's
little bit
fucking
about
do it,
football.
man. Let's go. I got the draft board up right here. I'm gonna share my screen so we can kind of take a look, so it makes it easier for everyone, meaning us, the podcasters. So we got our draft picks. We went from a 10-man league to a 12-man league, and interesting enough, these are the picks. Jimmy's got the 106. I have the 108, and Nick has the 112. So, boys, let's break this down a little bit. I want to talk about Nick's pick first because I always like when you're at the back end of a draft. My issue with the back end of this draft is you're losing out on a lot of the high tier guys. I think personally, like yes, you have the chance at a Garrett Wilson or maybe a Jahmyr Gibbs, and then you could get Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Marvin Harrison Jr., or Kyron Williams. But you literally are, once it hits 110, you're tiering, I think, to tier 3. My opinion, tier 3 fantasy player. I think the jump from 10 to 12 sucks. Like it really does.
That took a big fall.
I think it really does.
I've done 3 mock drafts already, and the conclusion I'm coming to is, since it's a 12-man league now, like when it was 10, you're kind of like, okay, who's going to be the people that fall to me? 12, it's kind of, you already know who's going to be left.
Yeah,
and you kind of just settle for who's there.
Exactly. I think Jimmy loves his pick because he's getting one of the good receivers.
Let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about the top of the draft.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Ryan's going Tyreek. I think he's going Tyreek, honestly.
I think that's insane. So Ryan has the 101. Him going Tyreek there, I don't think is the right call.
I still think he goes CMC.
To me, the top 3 is a lock. It's going to be CD, CMC, and Tyreek. I think that makes sense as the top 3 to me. 4, 5, 6 is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, or Jamar Chase. And I'm fine with any one of those 3. So bring them on down to number 6, and I will choose them gladly.
I feel like Jimmy always gets put in the situation where, like, he has hopes of who he's going to get, but then it comes down to, I don't care which one I'm getting, because to me, all 3 of them are like pretty much the same. Because it was the same way with Dynasty, where he's like looking for a quarterback and he's like, oh, I want this one, but then whichever one falls to me, I'm just going to take him.
Yep, wide receiver fell to me.
Yeah.
Here in my spot, I'm getting either Bijan or Breece Hall, unless someone passes on a receiver. That's probably what I'm doing. I got 108.
108, okay.
Yeah, so I think the first 8 players are pretty much locks as the first 8 picks, just in any order.
What about like AJ Brown or I guess you go running back, hero RB strategy?
I kind of have to, low key. Like, I don't like AJ Brown enough to spend a 108 on him. I like Puka, but I don't know. Like, I don't think he's 108 value,
And there's also no way you could just think the Rams are just going to give up on Cooper Kupp and make Puka the star of that team.
Like, Bijan and Breece Hall, out of those 2, I think Breece Hall is the better value at my pick. I think Bijan could be better, depending on how the new offense is, but that's the unknown. How the fuck is the new offense going to be? Breece Hall, we know what he is. If he gets the ball, he's going to be elite. We saw that last year. When he gets the ball, he's elite. Pass catching and running. So if he has a full year of being healthy in an offense that can stay healthy, protect Rodgers, I think he's going to have a really good year. That would be my pick at 108, unless somehow, some way, one of these receivers falls to me, but that's not happening. There's no shot. And if it does, yeah, I'll be happy, but it's not happening. As far as Nick, like, what are you thinking at 112?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just hoping either Puka or Jahmyr Gibbs falls to me somehow. Me personally, I think they're at the turnaround, the 2-1. I think for me, it's a guaranteed Saquon, but I'm not a big fan of going RB because I don't want my wide receiver 1 being a 312 pick. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is up there, but I mean, I'm not really a fan of taking a star rookie in a first round pick, technically second round pick right away. So I think for me, Saquon's kind of a lock, and I'm just pretty much hoping, like me personally, I'd rather have Puka fall to me, since I think Saquon's my lock at 2-1. Because if Jahmyr Gibbs falls to me at the 112, it's like, okay, now do I settle for, Marvin Harrison Jr., Devontae Adams, Drake London, Chris Olave, and go wide receiver, running back, or just double up on running backs?
What about G. Wills? What about Garrett Wilson? He's got to be in that range.
Yeah, you can't pass on him if he's there.
Garrett Wilson's your guy.
Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Garrett Wilson. I just hate the Jets' offense.
I understand, but in your position, if you're not trying to go double RB there, which I think you'd be very behind when you get to 312 in the wide receiver position, I think you gotta go one wide receiver there. And if it's not Puka and he's taken, and you can't go Marv, it can't be Drake London. It can't be, somebody like Devontae or Olave even later down in the second round. You gotta go Garrett Wilson, to be honest with you. That's probably your best value there.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how if I want to go do two RBs or two wide receivers. I mean, I'm not
Or
gonna
just
lie to
one
you,
on
I
one.
kind of
I'm
didn't
saying
see
one
his
on
name
one.
there, so I just skipped over it. But I mean, I'm not gonna be upset about Garrett Wilson, but I'm not gonna be happy about it.
I would say in one on one in your position because you got an elite running back and an elite wide receiver there.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
my thing about doubling up on running backs is I've done a couple mock drafts recently, and say I go wide receiver and running back, like I feel like the running back tiers around like between rounds 5 and 8 are just like not that great.
yeah, I mean, there's only so many good running backs, right?
That's
I
what I'm
mean,
saying, but I feel like there's wide receivers that that are still wide receiver ones in that area that obviously they're not like a Puka or a Monra or Garrett Wilson, but they still have the ability to do that.
I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. If you have the chance to get Jahmyr Gibbs and Garrett Wilson, you can't pass that up.
That's an ideal draft in the 12 pick and then the 13th pick. That's ideal. Like
Well,
I
no,
don't think that's gonna
I
happen.
agree with that,
That's
but
not gonna happen. But
I don't think that's happening because there's no way within 13 picks 2 of the top 12 players fall to me.
I'm just saying, if that would be the ideal draft for you,
No,
Jahmyr
yeah,
Gibbs and Garrett
of
Wilson.
course, but I mean,
Like
I don't.
I would, if that was me and I got those two guys, I'd be happy.
No, I
If
agree, but let's put it this way, bro. Like we're all looking at it, right? No matter what your pick is, you taking anyone outside of the top 12 in the first round.
no,
So that's what I'm saying. Like I think that's an unrealistic, thing to hope on. If it happens, I'm gonna be happy, but I just don't see anyone picking Jonathan Taylor, Saquon, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyron Williams before those people.
I think you're gonna be surprised, just because we have a lot of guys who go very running back heavy in our league. Like you got to remember how these dudes played last year. Like Massman LB had like 4 starting running backs, and he had CMC. Juan Troncleta had like every single running back. Like these guys go running back heavy. That's how they think running backs. There's gonna be receivers. There's gonna be value at receiver. That's why taking a running back early is gonna be key in this league because these fuckers will just take all the running backs.
mm,
I mean,
interesting. Yeah, because I have some targets. I mean, I've done two mock drafts myself. I have a second round target that's fallen to me in both mock drafts, and I think is the best play there. And obviously, I'm taking a wide receiver with my first overall pick, and I'll be honest with you, my second round pick is also a wide receiver. So, I'm then at the point where I have 2 stud wide receivers and no running backs, and you're saying that they're pretty running back heavy, so maybe I have to start thinking about that a little bit. I
yeah,
also have a target in round 3, and that target in round 3 is I'm hoping it's going to be there, but if running backs are flying, then he might not be.
yeah. I just like I have a feeling that's how guys are gonna draft, man. I've seen how they draft, and I think they're gonna go very running back heavy. I don't know how Nick D plays or Igor plays or Bennett plays, but I think past years we could see they go running back heavy. And then as far as like I love Jimmy's position in this draft. I really do. He gets one of the best 6'5" receivers. I love that.
Yep.
And he's the earliest on the come around of getting one of those elite receivers.
Yep.
I think
It's it's great. I think I end up with wide receiver 1 upside pick no matter who I get, and I
yeah.
think I have a solid option in the second round as well. That could also be a wide receiver 1 or a running back 1.
Yeah. No, I love your position. I was hoping to
I'm
be up there, but yeah.
fundamentally going about this draft differently than I have in the past. Just putting my cards out on the table. I'm looking at this one a little bit differently. I'm trying to do some things that I haven't done in the past. I've taken quarterback early. I've done, even builds. I've done wide receiver, running back splits essentially for the first 4 rounds all the time. So approaching this very differently, looking for value. I'm looking for high upside players. And you know what? Injuries happen. You can't build the perfect team through the draft. It just doesn't happen.
No.
So when guys go down, you have to try to fix it, and I'm gonna try to fix it. So we'll see
And
what happens. I don't know.
I mean, redraft is fun because a lot of the rookies don't go early, so you can kind of take chances on them in the late rounds. And that's kind of where you can find like this year's Puka Nakua. I don't think there's going to be another Puka Nakua, but an example, like maybe you'll get a rookie in the 13th round who puts up similar to Puka. Like that's what's fun about redraft is rookies don't go early because people don't do research on rookies. They look at big names, they play Madden, they see their overalls. This is people who are like not into fantasy like us. Like we're fantasy nerds. Some of the guys we're in the league with, they go off Madden, they go off the names they hear. So it makes it fun for us because we can kind of go into the rookies and take those guys who we think might be breakouts. Like I have a few breakout names. I'll name one. I think Jalen Polk from the Patriots is going to be really good. I think he might be like a top 10 receiver in the next 2 years. I'll name another running back. I think Trey Benson's going to be really good. I think he's a sleeper running back. I don't think James Conner has much left in him. Sleeper tight end. I have Ben Sinnott from the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is going to need an outlet, and rookie. What better way to look for than your tight end? I just gave you guys my sleepers. So if you pick them, you're getting kicked out of the league.
I'll give you sleepers. So I mean, on the wide receiver side, I think Xavier Liga is going to be a good option. I think
he reminds me a lot of Deebo Samuel. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I think Xavier Liga is going to be really good there. High upside. They're talking a lot of good things about him in camp so far. I mean, I've always been high on Keon Coleman going into an empty wide receiver room in Buffalo with one of the best wide receivers or one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he's in a position to succeed. I think there's people that are in a position to fail, and you have to avoid those bombs, right? Like you have to avoid those bombs at the top 10 rounds of the draft. It's okay if you get them in the 15th round, you take a swing on somebody and miss, but you want to avoid those, 104 picks where you get, for instance, I don't know, I'm just going to say somebody who would never go there, Bijan, and then like he hurts himself or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you don't want those instances to happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
I think another thing to look at, how we were talking about the running back heavy in the top. Looking at last year's draft, and within the first 3 rounds, 3 quarterbacks went already. How often do you now it's 12? How often do you think a pick is going to be wasted on a quarterback in the early rounds?
I think it's going to be high. I really do. I think Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes all go before the start of the second, third round. I really do.
I mean,
why?
last
No
year,
way.
well, let's put it this way. Last year, we had 10 teams. Patrick Mahomes went 2-3, and Joe Burrow went 2-6. Jimmy took Josh Allen at 3-1.
Solid
And
value.
then Jalen Hurts was 4-8.
So the issue is where their ADP is with respect to the other players in the draft. So I'll be honest with you, when you don't know a lot about fantasy and you don't have like targets for each round, you go based on who the best available is, and the quarterbacks categorically are lower than all of the other players this year than they have been previously. So like when you see that, like the quarterbacks are going to go starting in the 3rd round this year rather than the 2nd round, just because of where their ADP lines up this year for some reason. And I think that's good. I think you get some better wide receivers up there instead.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So like you took Josh Allen 3-1 last year after taking Amon-Ra to 210. And then you look at it, and after Josh Allen, it was Chris Olave, Tony Pollard, Jalen Waddle, Josh Jacobs, T. Higgins. Like, obviously, in that situation, it seems like Josh Allen is definitely the better value for the ADP. But me personally, I'm still not taking that.
No, and you shouldn't, right? Like the point of drafting. What?
I feel like players are going to look at it that way and take quarterbacks like that.
But I feel like because Josh Allen's ADP was around 31 last year. What is it this year? Like in the 40s? So it's a little bit later. Plus, there's 12-man teams, so it's there's a lot to consider now. So
Josh Allen's ADP is 21.5
in sleeper.
Yeah, so that's what towards the end of the middle to end of second round in a 12-man league.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even realize that.
You know what I'm saying? And Jalen Hurts is 33, Patrick Mahomes is 35, Lamar's 39. So there's 4 quarterbacks in the top 40 picks, and the top 40 picks is pretty much 3 whole rounds.
Yeah, you got a good point. I didn't realize Josh Allen was that high.
There's a high chance that, I'm not saying the 112, but maybe the 312, a player that might be picked at 4-4 without quarterbacks being taken is now falling to me because people are taking quarterbacks super early. or
And,
taking tight end super early.
yeah, and I mean, you also got to remember, like, just like in an NFL draft, there's trends. So if people start taking quarterbacks, other people are going to start taking quarterbacks. People follow trends that don't have like a set plan. Like I think the three of us have a set plan. Nick, I don't know. He confuses me sometimes. I feel like he knows what he's doing. I feel like he doesn't. I feel like he plans. I don't know. Nick's like a mystery book. He'd be a GM I would not want to trade with.
Hey, Bert,
But
you know as much as I do about myself.
but like there's trends. So like if you see a run on tight ends, you just got to stay patient. Like don't be like, oh fuck, Laporta, Kelsey, and McBride are off the board. I got to take Andrews. No, wait. You got Njoku, Ferguson, Brock Bowers. Like please don't forget about Brock Bowers. Like you got Cole Kmet, you got Hawkinson. Like relax.
Wait.
Wait.
He's coming off an injury, but Dallas Goedert's ADP is 104.
Dallas Goedert, like you
I'm
get
going down to Freiermuth in the late 100s. I mean, like you got time, man. You can get a tight end that starts in like every round.
Don't go with the trends. Don't get scared because a bunch of quarterbacks are going off the board. Focus on running back and receiver. Those are what win you leagues. Yes.
Here's the real question. You think it should be an automatic that the last two rounds are kicker defense? Or do you say skip out on one of them and then evaluate your team and then say drop someone for a defense?
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for.
I think I'm going to draft no kicker defense, and I'm just going to figure it out before week 1. Honestly. Like, I think I'm going to look at it. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to keep drafting, and then before the start of week 1, I'm going to pick up a kicker and defense.
Because I've had that in the back of my head. I'm like, damn, bro, like, what happens if there's like a sleeper pick at, 7-12 and 18-1, and it's like, well, now I don't have a defense or a kicker. I'm like, I feel like it's better to, take the risk for that and see what they do or say about them within the preseason, and then if anything, just drop them.
Well, so the issue,
in all honesty, you're not getting a lot of value down there, though. In all honesty, you're getting a guy that might score like 2 or 3 points like a week, or I feel like you're trying to swing for the fence and do something cute, but maybe it works. Maybe you find somebody down there, but I just don't see it.
Also, the issue with that is like we're doing the draft August 31st. The first game of the year is August 5th, so it's like it's not going to work out.
September 5th.
September 5th. Sorry, yes. So that's not going to work out, unfortunately.
But yeah. I mean, to be honest, though, Jimmy, in our redraft league last year, Tank Dell was the last overall pick out of like players.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a cool rookie down there,
besides quarterbacks, he was the second wide receiver, third like position player, and look how he turned out to be for his first year.
Yeah,
you get a player like that down there, and one of your mid wide receivers or running backs, gets hurt like Nick Chubb. Guy filled the spot.
Yeah, but I feel like that's mostly a waiver ad.
Well, no, that's why I'm asking for your opinion. Is it worth drafting a kicker and a defense in the last 2 rounds like automatically, or is it worth like taking that risk?
I mean, if we were drafting before the preseason ended, I would say why not? But we're drafting like 4 days before the season starts.
Bro,
I mean, here's the thing though. Like if you're looking at 2 players, in the 18th round, if you're looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire or maybe Audric Estime, yeah, take the swing on the rookie instead of the kicker defense. But if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the only one that's on the board there for you, then don't like just get a kicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know how we talk about all these quarterbacks and tight ends going early? Looking at the draft from last year, what round do you think a defense was taken? Like the first defense?
12th round.
You have a guess, Jonathan?
I'm gonna say 10th round.
There was 4 defenses taken in the 9th round.
Crazy.
They saw one guy take a defense, like Jonathan said, and panicked. And 3 other guys took a defense.
I feel like Ryan would draft like that.
See, when did Ryan take it? Ryan didn't take a defense until the 18th, the last round.
I feel like Ryan would follow somebody though. Like follow the trends.
See, it's all about trends, guys. That's all it is.
That is disgusting. 4 defenses in the 9th round.
Yeah, man. It's very disgusting.
All right, I got one more question. Is it worth drafting 2 quarterbacks or picking up one off the bench when your quarterback has a bye?
Always just
off the waiver.
Always just pick one off the waivers, man.
I don't know. I'm torn. I would take a second quarterback. I wouldn't have a problem taking a second quarterback because in the case of injury or in the case of you have a suitable replacement during the bye, it's kind of reassuring.
That's why Jimmy's never won the league. Doesn't take
I like
risks.
having I like having two quarterbacks. I think right away I drafted two quarterbacks last season. Both of them had the same bye, and I went out of my way to trade one of my backup quarterback for another backup quarterback with another guy, and that helped me, right? So I had the buy then worked out ahead of the season, didn't have to worry about that transaction, focus on other transactions like Trey McBride pickup, like Kyron Williams pickup, like all these moves that I made that got me to 8-6 with the best team in the history of fantasy football at 8-6. Yep, you heard me right, and losing in the second round of the playoffs. So just that goes to show you kids, you can never get shit right because even when everything goes perfectly, you still lose. And with that, I think we can end the episode.
Yeah, let me just say one thing. I had Justin Herbert. He got hurt. Matt Stafford won me a championship, so don't listen to Jimmy. And I picked him off the waivers in I think December. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode. That is our trade deadline talk, our fantasy football projections, and I think we'll be back next week. I don't think we have anything coming up for another week or two, but we shall see you next week on the next episode. Make sure to follow us on all our socials, and yeah, just show some love, man. Show some love to Ballpark Beef. Catch you.